about them, they don't need power.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes! Yes! Yes!
You sure it's not Rise?
It's Dawn.
It's Dawn.
It's Dawn. I know those movies. I'm a fan.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geek Bubble Reviews. I'm John.
I'm Dylan.
Josh.
And I'm Cameron.
And today we're going to be reviewing, as we said before, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Of what?
Of the Planet of the Apes.
It's back!
Oh! What?
Yeah.
But Paul Giamatti is not in this film.
No.
No.
Paul Giamatti in any of them?
Yes! He was in the last one that came out before they redid these ones. He's the only thing I remember from that last
The
one.
2001? Like the Tim Burton one?
I think, yeah.
The one with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, he was like this orange, like, orangutan.
Paul Giamatti? The Rhino?
Unless I'm insane, but
The only thing I remember about that Tim Burton one
I'm gonna
was,
look this up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'm doing it right now. I got it.
was the ending.
I don't even
Where you see freaking Lincoln, except he's an ape head. It's the jump.
Have you seen every Planet of the Apes movie?
Yeah.
Even like the 60s.
Yes.
I heard like the ones after the original were garbage though.
Okay, that's not true. A lot, they're ridiculous, but some of them are really good. Like the fourth one is excellent, and it's like it's literally about like all the apes are put in like captivity, like pets, and they have like an uprising and overthrow humanity. It's pretty sweet.
Well, it starts off, it's like, help me out, how many years after?
I believe it's 10.
10 years
10
after
years,
the original.
yeah.
And it's still continuing this sort of like, it seems more of like an origin story.
Well, that's one of the things that I was always trying to figure out, and then I listened to an interview with the director who said, like, I thought when they started it's just a reboot of it all, but this actually, they've confirmed it is a prequel to the original Planet of the Apes. So we're actually discovering how that first Planet of the Apes came to be. And in between those 10 years, right, it's basically what you figure out is the virus that you see at the end of
The
Planet
simian
of the Apes.
flu.
That apparently, like, you see in the end of Rise of the Planet, you see this pilot who gets on a plane, and then the credits are literally seeing the pilot like go from place to place. And
I don't think he was a
spreading.
pilot. He was just one of the...
You know, he was a pilot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess that was...
And the end credits to that movie are like the same as the beginning credits
Yeah,
to
it's the
this
exact same thing. So essentially what happens is most of humanity is seemingly wiped out by this disease. And I believe it takes place in Los Angeles.
No, San
San
Francisco.
San Francisco, that the apes have essentially gone out of San Francisco and they have formed their little tribal society, and they're starting their life, and they think that humans are gone. But little do they know.
Yep.
Gary Oldman survived the apocalypse.
And that one guy from Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, and that other dude.
That's what he's from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Is that the main character?
Yeah.
We still don't know.
I mean,
his-
of course, I
See,
fell asleep
he-
during
you
that
know,
movie.
there's a show out called The Americans on FX, and Kerry Russell, who's the actress in The Planet of the Apes, and him are actually the co-stars of The Americans. So, yeah, pretty cool. But anyway, obviously what happens is the apes, Caesar, the leader ape who we saw in the beginning of the film, he's trying to raise society and is trying to get things going, and the future's looking pretty bright for them.
And he has like a whole set of, commandments for the apes and like
laws.
basically making it a society.
Ape, not kill.
they're they're not only speaking, but they're writing too.
Yeah.
And all this kind of goes in shitter when they make contact with other humans, and they know from their history, because a lot of these apes are from captivity, that they fear the humans coming and trying to kill them all. So essentially a lot of the movie's conflict comes to the fact that the apes live next to this dam that the humans need to, get power to the city. But there's certain apes who don't trust the humans, and yet you have the the main characters, the human characters who want to, have peaceful cooperation, where Gary Oldman's character doesn't, and there's all these conflicting opinions, and there's this constant tension where complete war could break out and everyone could
on both sides. There are those who are trusting of the other species, and then a very large number of those who aren't.
Yeah, and essentially that's what a lot of the movie is you're just seeing these two sides, which one is going to win and win out in the end. Is it going to be war, or is it going to be somehow they come to peace?
It's very tense the entire time. While you're watching this, you just have like a building sense of, like tension for what's coming up next. And even when it's, interaction between when it's an interaction between the apes and the humans, it gets really, really, really tense really quick. But even it turns into like human to human and ape to ape contact is really tense, and everyone is just like on the edge of breaking. And it makes for like a really edge of your seat viewing for the first like hour and a half.
And I think one of the things that is going to surprise a lot of people is going to be Gary Oldman's character, because in the trailer he's appeared to be as the clear villain, the one who's like, oh, we're going to kill all the apes. But he isn't like that at all in the movie. He's very sympathetic, and he's really just looking out for everyone else. And when you see him, you kind of understand where he is coming from. Like, a lot of these characters, including the guy who I'd call the main villain, Koba.
I think he's misunderstood.
I kind of agree. I don't know if I think he's misunderstood, but he would say shit that I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah. I don't know if you can call him a classic villain though.
Yeah.
Anti-villain, anti-hero. I don't know.
He's not a hero. He's a sympathetic villain. How about that?
All right. Yes. All right.
Because he starts out kind of good.
He's the right hand man of Caesar.
He's a cool dude. He saved his son. They're buds. They drink together.
Yeah. They kill bears together.
Yeah, they hold hands.
Forgive me.
And he's just worried for his people, right? All he's doing is looking out for the good of the apes, and he sees a threat, a terrible threat. And a lot of the points he brings up makes sense, I would say, because he's like, everyone's like, well, we got to have peace with them. And he's like, okay, we'll give them peace. Then they'll get really strong. And what's to stop them when they're strong from just running us over and killing us? And for me, when I heard that, I was like, well, that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, he wants to stop them from getting power from the dam, which is really just a way to give them a huge advantage over the apes.
Yeah,
and,
essentially.
Be able to wipe them out.
And I don't know about you guys, but I think that made Koba one of the more interesting villains I've seen in a while. I thought he was a fascinating character.
And one of the most interesting things about Koba and the other apes actually is the fact that most of the movie they do sign language, and you're actually reading a lot of subtitles. But it works really, really well. It's just surprising seeing it come from a big budget movie like this.
Yeah, that was really surprising. I think it was like the first 10 minutes of this film.
Yeah.
There's no dialogue. And I think, especially for a film that costs like $170 million to make, I can't believe the studio let them go through with that. But that kind of just shows they clearly put their trust in the director, because apparently before he came on, the script had them talking. He was like, no, they have to still be sort of primitive. They still have to sign. So, yeah, I thought that was honestly just an excellent move on their part. I'm honestly kind of curious, did everyone here enjoy the film?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone here really liked the film?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone here loved the film?
Yes!
Like, you sure? Cause...
And John, to your point, I think the movie did that really well. And you said this first, Dylan. It seems like in the beginning they were signing because they were among themselves, and like it's not really natural for an ape to speak.
Yeah.
But the more time they spent with the humans, the more often they were speaking because they had to communicate that way with them.
And like I was talking to someone about this, and they're like, "Well, I don't get it, because there are points where they'd be talking to each other and they would sign, but then they just randomly speak." he's like, I didn't get it. Why didn't they just speak the whole time? And I was like, I think it's because the way that people talk, like, you know, people talk normally, but when they want to be heard, when they're saying something important, that's when they speak and like they're making a point. And so I actually think they handled that really well. The dimensions between what was going on with their language was interesting.
I also thought that they don't know a lot of words either.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Caesar obviously knows more words because he's been with James Franco.
Yeah.
And I mean, Koba, all these other apes are learning from Caesar.
That's true. Because like that first Planet of the Apes, it was like, what, 4 words are spoken in Rise. It's like no and Caesar is home.
That no
Apple.
moment where it's just like the first time he speaks and he's like, no!
He's like, oh my god!
Run away, Draco!
So there's like a moment like that, except it's much darker. It's just where you go like, run. And it's just like, oh! I thought that one was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's what made Rise awesome, was that one moment, and you're just never gonna forget that no moment. There's actually like a few moments in this movie that rival that moment for me. This movie tops the first one, and I think it's more memorable.
I'm actually kind of curious about that, if you guys thought the first one was better or not. Because
I'm on whatever this one is, Dawn.
Yeah.
I like Dawn a lot more, actually.
Okay. This is one of those films that we don't see every now and then. Like, I think this is a pretty rare film to see, especially for a big budget blockbuster like that.
Yeah, and like how the main cast really is different.
Yeah.
And it's a sequel, and somehow they still like make it totally work.
I was hearing someone talk about the cast, how the human characters are changing, and how it'd be really cool if in the third film there's just no humans at all. It's just all apes, because it would start like choosing sides. And I think one of the awesome things about this movie is that it kind of points out the fact that in war, why wars start is because people do choose sides, and that it's much more complicated by that. It's much more about the character of each person. And that's what kind of leads everyone to war, is that everyone's like, well, apes are good if you're on the ape side, or only humans are good if you're on the human side, and they don't look at the character of these individuals. And one thing I don't know, I really thought was remarkable was Andy Serkis as Caesar.
Yeah,
So
I was actually just going to bring that up. Caesar is one of the coolest protagonists I've seen in a long time.
He's becoming one of the most interesting characters in like film, especially the way Serkis portrays him. And
It's really awesome because he's a monkey.
yeah,
It's not human element.
It's like every time you see him, he's got like just a badass pose or something going on.
His movements, his facial
everything
expressions,
that he does just emanates
and then
power.
when he speaks, it's how he speaks and what words he says.
I know.
It's like
it
he
resonates
demands
with everything.
attention.
And you're right about that, like the facial expressions too. Like he looks like tired almost, like he's war torn, but at the same time he's really wise.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was so awesome.
He's like, I gotta deal with these apes again. Keep him in line. He's so saintly, but he's like, at the same time, he has to act so tough and powerful because that's how
he has to take that leader.
He has to take charge.
Roll on.
And that was one of the things I always thought was really interesting. Was like when he starts out, he's so saintly. You're right. I was like, what could they possibly have him learn? And when he does learn, at the end of the film, I was like, oh, that's actually that's pretty poignant. Like, yeah, that's a good point. This is controversial. I don't know how you guys really feel about motion capture, but should Andy Serkis get nominations for his performance here?
Well, I'm not sure how the motion capture exactly worked for this specific film. Did they take control of his like facial expressions?
It's essentially the same thing as what Avatar was or Gollum was in Lord of the Rings.
So he wore the ball suit.
He wore the ball suit and the face ball suit.
Yeah.
The mini balls.
And like from my perception, what it is they have these little dots on his face that just pick up like every muscle
facial
movement.
expression.
Yeah.
So like,
which is what I was curious about. If they generated it based on computer, like they just did it through the computer, then no. But the fact that it's his facial expressions, that's him acting, but with a suit on. So yeah, I would say I'd
say nominate I don't know if he should win.
Yeah, okay.
Or the Academy Awards could adapt and add a new category.
That's what everyone. Yeah, that's what everyone says. Like, add a motion capture. Like,
But does it happen often?
so that's my thing is I don't think they can add that yet because it's like one nominee, Andy Serkis, Andy Serkis, Andy Serkis. It's like,
Well, it seems like, I mean, a lot of the realistic looking, like, CG characters these days are motion capture.
yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know.
I'm not, like, for me, the only films I really hear, like, are paving this sort of type of technology are these Planet of the Apes movies. So, and Avatar, which was really kind of what started this all, so.
And it's really, really visually
Oh,
stunning.
God, yeah.
They are so amazing looking.
And, I mean, as far as just, like, the apes, yeah, they look so good, but they just pick up. Like, you can tell they're picking up an actor's performance because there's just little subtleties in their face. It's just like, ugh.
I really, that part where Koba, like, walks into the base,
Oh,
and he's
yes.
he's pretending he's, like, innocent and, like,
Yeah.
Right,
naive
yeah.
and just a normal ape. Like, that part, like, that freaked me out. Like,
I
his
agree.
facial expressions and just the way he acted is...
I was like,
It's disturbing,
It
yeah.
was disturbing to me. I was kind of like, ugh.
But it's awesome at the same time.
Yeah, totally. And I also think that there has to be a lot of complimenting to the director here, Matt Reeves, who, for me, you're talking about how tense this movie is. I completely agree with you. I think the first hour of this film is just so intense and always on the edge of your seat. It's always interesting because it just feels so perfectly, like, paced and, like, the tone and shots. And, like, there's a lot of times where he does these little things. One shot with a tank, like a tank head, kind of spinning around.
Oh, right.
And that was, when I
You
saw
see
it,
all the monkeys running around. Yeah.
he just holds it there. I thought that was really smart. Or just creative. Like, I thought it was pretty cool. Does anyone have any problems with this?
Not that I remember. I don't think so.
I think the way Gary Oldman's last decision sort of seemed a little
Like, just unrational. Like,
unbelievable.
Oh, when he...
or
Okay.
irrational. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just...
I mean, yeah. I guess that could be a problem.
But other than that, I mean, it seemed... It's Planet of the Apes, but believable
Okay.
for the most part. Other than that.
It's believable, but irrational, and it's just like, how could you think that would work?
See, I think it was irrational, but I agree it was irrational, but for his character, I got it. Because he was just,
Okay.
like, in the mindset that he was in, he was so determined to make sure that humanity survived. He would give everything for that.
I guess he thought, like, this was his chance to...
Yeah. I can see where you're, like, not quite getting, but I believed it.
Okay.
I think my issues are more in that, and this is, if I have an issue here, it's that I think the human characters, particularly the two leads we kind of talked about, are just not near as interesting as the apes are. Because the apes are so well fleshed out that those two characters, like, they're not flat, but they're just not near as interesting.
It took a while for me to even, like, be sympathizing for the human side.
Yeah.
Actually, the son's character seems like it was very thrown in there, and the reason why I say I don't think you should. The reason why I say that is, you know, they show some of his stuff, but there's one scene, and this is where I got a problem with it, and it was with the main girl and the son. And they're, like, sitting in the little, you know, tunnel waiting for everyone down below. And it seemed like that scene was literally just thrown in there. You know, if they would have developed the son through something else, like with more interaction with the apes or something like that, or more interaction with his dad.
Are you talking about the ape son or just the son?
He's talking about...
the
the
son
human
of the
son.
human.
Oh, okay. I'll agree with you on that. I thought you were talking about the ape son.
No, the
I
ape
was
son's
like,
amazing.
What are you talking about?
Caesar's son is really well
Why
done.
shocked my fuck you?
I was like strangling you across the table.
God damn it.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on that.
No, like that one scene where they're sitting in like the tunnel, it legitimately seemed like they just threw that scene and they're like, oh shit, we need to give him some backstory and her some backstory, so...
I appreciate that they do that, though, because then they would have been completely flat characters. I just wish they had more.
They had to do that to make you care more about his father.
Well, what I'm saying is, it felt like it was thrown in there, because they didn't have enough.
And I think they're aware of that, though. I think they're
okay.
aware, like, our characters aren't that interesting, but they're not bad filmmakers. Like, we will give these guys motivations. So
Okay.
it's, because really their focus is on the apes, which I think is a smarter decision.
They do show that the kids like messed up from
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
he's had to go through. So
So
in that aspect, they sort of succeeded a little.
It's a very minor complaint.
Yeah.
It's just that it's something that I noticed that he just didn't seem all that fleshed out.
I also did like the score, the soundtrack to this film,
so good.
because it would like harken back to like the original Planet of the Apes with like the drums and like the tribal drums and stuff. It's just
At the end, it's like, doom, doom.
yeah. So I don't know. I just always noticed it was like, oh wait, that sounds exactly like the old Planet of the Apes movies. Anyone else got anything to say about this? Or?
I guess I have a question for you guys. Are you on the ape side or the human side?
You know, you guys know.
Because I know my answer.
This movie, it
I'm
makes
on
you
the Caesar side.
you want them to get along because there are characters on both sides that
Yeah.
you care about and that seem like they could make it work. You know.
I'm basically with Cameron on that. I think the film was so good at representing, like, no, both of these sides. There's good to both of them. So, you want them to find a way to figure it out. So, I can't pick a side. I mean,
you will pick a side
But Caesar,
during the third movie,
but
though.
Caesar is the greatest.
Caesar. If Caesar was to die in, like, the third film or something like that, I'd lose it. Or it could be done.
Yeah.
Because
Because I am on the ape side.
I knew you would be. You were on the Light Yagami side.
So was I, but I'm not that crazy.
And I like Koba. I like his character. And I know there's more to him. He's for self-preservation. But there's this one fucker for the humans that...
Oh, that I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And they bring him along. It's like, what are you thinking? This guy's an idiot.
They
And
had
it's like,
to for the water
Because
man.
humans, they're just so unaccepting of other cultures and peoples, and it pisses me off. It happens so often. It
Yeah, but
made me angry. I was
there's-
like, Caesar understands.
There's a point though where Koba shows that while he is looking out for like the apes over the humans, he's also just looking out mainly
He
for
is-
himself.
See, that's
really
true.
unacceptable.
I think he starts out looking out for his culture, like for his people. But I think there's actually a defining moment where he stops caring about that.
Yeah, you can
And
see
he's
like
like-
he's on the bridge with everybody.
Yeah, and like it becomes stop being about them, about himself.
Mhm.
The quest for Koba. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that, but I'm still on the ape side.
He's an interesting character.
I think
he is so
humans have had their run.
They're
done.
You had your chance. Just screwed it up. I know that one character. Like they explain why that character is the way he
He's
is.
such an asshole.
But like, I think the only reason we hate him so much is because he's like everyone's trying to prevent war, and he's just being stupid. He's just like, did it fart on me? He goes, blow your brains
I
out.
told you not to bring a gun. Why do you have 5?
What do you need a shotgun for in the toolbox?
Oops.
If I was that big black guy, I would just shoot him.
Blow his brains out.
Yeah.
I like how
I would just kill him.
I think there's like a scene where the black guy is just like pushing him down this hill the entire time,
Yeah.
and the white guy does nothing. He's just like, I'm not gonna beat you up. You're gigantic.
Yeah.
So
I was just curious when what's that.
okay, that's a good point. I think it'd be interesting to ask people what they think after that.
Because, I mean, by the third movie, I think everybody's going to have a side that they want.
Maybe.
I'd say if I had to choose, I would probably have to side with the apes.
Yeah,
At
because
this point,
they put so much time into it, and this is their dawn.
after they've risen already.
Has there been a confirmed, 3 or 4 movies or anything?
So what I do know is that the director Matt Reeves, he's coming back for the third film.
Okay.
And there's no director confirmed for a fourth film, so I don't know if they're planning on doing it. I would hope they do it like a trilogy.
I figured it would be 3 films.
Yeah.
Just because I think the climax of this trilogy is happening
Yeah.
next.
Yeah,
So-
I'm hoping what it is, it's more for Return of the King than like a Dark Knight Rises.
The Battle of Minas Tirith.
Yeah.
So you want it to be 4 hours, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You know what? 4 hours of Apes.
I want 4
I will
hours
take it.
uncut.
I want the Peter Jackson edits of this Dawn of the Planet of the Apes that had nothing to do with it.
Move aside.
Just give me King Kong.
Just give me that editing reel. Come here. All right. Well,
I bet it takes place in New York.
I bet it takes place in Middle Earth. All right. Well, I think then we can move on to our ratings, and we're gonna start with Dylan.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the real question is it a
What's the
4.5
point
or a 5?
That's
Come on.
essentially what I'm trying to decide.
Josh.
Or a 3.
This
It was completely average.
Oh yeah. This movie was astounding. It's over 2 hours long, but it doesn't feel
Not
that
by
way.
much, is it?
Only
It's
by
2.5.
10 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
2:10.
2:10.
yeah, 2:06.
It's still that's still a 2 hour movie, you know. And it's like we went at something like almost 10 o'clock at night, 9 or 10 o'clock, and came out just fine. It did not feel like 2 hours at all. It felt more like an hour and a half. And I was surprised that much time went by. The CGI is so goddamn good. Caesar is amazing. Koba is amazing. Pretty much everything in this movie is amazing. And I can find really no legitimate faults with it. So it gets a 5 out of 5.
What? What?
You're following Ethan!
First 5.
Like,
No,
how
Ethan!
How to Train Your Dragon.
Ethan.
God damn it,
Ethan.
The
I love
first-
Ethan.
The first legitimate
Ethan does
5.
not count. We could have went and saw Tammy. And we five.
You know, he would give it a fan 5 out of 5, but it would be a 2 real rating.
Yeah, it's true. It would have been an Ethan 5.
Yep.
So
It's a Christopher
it's
Nolan
the first
matinee.
5 for Dylan. It's first 5 for Dylan.
It is my first 5.
Josh.
Can I give it like 3/4?
Nope.
A 4.75.
No.
No.
You must do
I
0.5
know.
for the
It's
full.
a 0.5.
I know, it's a
We're
0.5.
We're not that good at math. We can't start doing
Follow your heart.
orders.
I know. I mean, I have to give it a 5 out of 5.
Oh!
God! 2 of them! 2
I
in a
know,
row!
but I'll stick with my 5 out of 5. 'cause
Okay.
I didn't have any faults with it,
Fair enough.
and that's kind of like, well, it has to be perfect. Perfect then.
Cameron.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If there aren't any faults with a movie that's great like this, not any big faults, it can still be a 4.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Because
And that's your rating?
that is my rating.
Is it your enjoyment though? Is it based on enjoyment?
Yeah, I mean, partially. I mean,
Okay.
mostly. I don't really know what else there is to base on.
Okay, you can have story, score, CGI.
But, like,
I mean, you can always have those as ratings,
But
then your
those
personal
are-
enjoyment could bring it down.
But, like, I enjoy when those things are good.
I get what you're saying. I do.
I totally agree with what Dylan was saying. I didn't even realize 2 hours went by because it started out really strong. I loved the beginning, and it kept up the pace until a really good finale at the end. And yeah, I didn't come away from it like this was like there was no like super amazing part to it.
Okay.
Which I need to get a 5 out of 5.
See, we're just gonna say something quick. I've been battling with myself, like, is this better than the Lego Movie? Because the Lego Movie is the highest 4.5 I can possibly give. It is the highest
It's
4.5.
better than the Lego Movie.
But it's better than the Lego Movie for me.
Yes.
So
Bold
it
statement.
pushes it up to the next tier.
But you guys
So
overrated
it
the Lego
has...
Movie.
No, the Lego... You shut up.
Cameron, the Lego Movie is pretty much
So-
the second coming of Christ.
Yeah.
I'm not overrated.
I give it forthcoming at best.
What was third coming? Dark Knight?
Yes!
I mean,
He rises!
I can say the same thing though. I am really torn between a 4.5 and 5, but I
have to.
I'm
give
just
it
going
that
off
5.
my first reaction. Was
That's
a 5
that's
out
what
of
I'm
5.
doing. The way I came out of the theater, like my first like initial reaction.
And
Yeah.
like I even said when we came out, like I don't know. I thought that I was leaning towards a 4.5, but I said it would depend on whether or not I like this more than the Lego Movie. I'm pretty sure I do. I've been thinking about it since I saw it, just constantly while I was at work, and it's like, this movie is so well done. It deserves that 5. I can give my first 5 of the year.
Can I ask what a 5 is for you?
What a 5 is?
Yes. I want to see what kind of movie it's going to take for you to get a 5. Because I think you're going to be the hardest one to get a 5 out of.
In recent memory, I know Silver Linings Playbook was a 5 for me.
Okay, fair enough. I would 5 Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah, I did 5.
I'd 5 that all night.
I did 5 at all.
Alright, so I was gonna give it a 4, but since everyone's giving it a 5, no, I was kidding. I think this film is incredible, and I think it has flaws. Like we talked about, there's some characters, but it kind of had a similar experience to Dylan. We went at 10. We went to the premiere at 10 on Thursday. And this is right when we went to like a water park that night, so I was kind of tired, and I was worried, oh god, I'm not going to be able to stay up for this thing. And the moment it started, I was hooked into it, and it kept my attention the whole way through. And honestly, I wanted to go see it the next day. I was so pumped up about it, how good I thought it was. And I haven't seen it a second time, I'm too busy. And maybe my rating will change when I do see it again. But for now, I think this is just almost a masterpiece. I'm going to give it a 5.
Oh! 3 in 1!
I agree, Cameron, dude. I feel like it shouldn't be, and yet I feel this the pure quality of this film. And you said there wasn't like a wow moment. I had several moments.
Yeah,
There were
wow.
great moments, but I mean,
Okay.
nothing that I came away and was like, oh my god.
Okay, because for me it was just like, I would say the first hour of this film is one giant wow moment, almost in a way. So, excellent movie. Alright, so there you have it. We got fairly high recommendations, so go see it if you can.
It's kind of high recommendations.
It's kind of a good movie.
Essentially, get out there and give your money to this. You gotta go.
It's not as good as Transformers, though.
You gotta get that Futurama meme.
This
Take my money.
This is our highest rating to date, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
We usually have. I don't think we've had a single 5 before this, but that's Ethan obviously, and we have 3 5s here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes this the greatest movie ever.
Since we started the podcast.
So I think we can just end it there. Anyone have any closing statements? Some big announcements?
Packers are going to be good this season.
I agree. Packers
No.
are going to be good.
They're going to lose their division.
A-Rod's
I
just
don't
been good
know.
in camp.
They're losing their division. They'll be last.
All right. We can't start the weekly soap yet. Anyway, I guess we'll just close out saying this was the Geek Bubble, and you
Contact
can follow
us.
us on YouTube,
YouTube,
and
Twitter.
at the Geek
Twitter.
Bubble.
We're
The
at
Geek Bubble again. And
Uh,
contact us on
You
Gmail
can
at
email us.
the Geek Bubble.
Tell us how good looking we are.
At
Email.
Since you
Gmail.
can see our
Through our
faces.
voices. And I think that's it.
John,
Check out our other videos.
You sound attractive.
I sound attractive.
There
So
you go.
you say I'm not attractive. And guess what? The carpet matches the voice. So
Wow.
On
that note.
All right, yeah, on that note.
I am John.
I'm Dylan.
Josh.
And I'm Cameron.
Thanks for listening.
We don't mean any harm.
I know why you're scared. It took us 4 years fighting that virus, but we are survivors.
It was a virus created by scientists in a lab. You can't blame the apes.
Who the hell else am I gonna blame?